Hey everybody, welcome back to 3 Generations Restoration. Today we got ourselves a John Deere 630. We're going to be fixing it up and making sure that it runs correctly today. In the previous video we got it running and it wasn't, not like it wasn't running right, but it was running out of gas. One, we have this we need to fix because this isn't working, and we were running off of this nurse tank, so I think that could end up being the whole problem. But just in case, I got a carb kit for this. So this is like a DLTX. I'm not sure of the regular number, but if we need to, we will go ahead and end up fixing this too. So let's go ahead and get right into it. We're going to get this, I don't know, I guess you'd call it the oil-fed sediment bowl automatic feed off and figure out why it's not feeding gas to the carburetor. Let's get right into it. All right, everybody, so first step is we're gonna wanna drain the tank. We're gonna kind of cheat here. I got a little electric siphon that I have, and we're gonna go ahead and turn that thing on and drain this. It's got kind of bad gas, so, you know, yeah, it's definitely not the best gas. So we're gonna go ahead and drain that into a bucket and probably end up putting some fresh stuff in. So I gotta find a bucket and then we'll get this stuff drained out. All right, well, I got myself a little bucket. Let's go ahead and turn this baby on. I'll tell you what, guys, this is a pretty neat little invention. Pretty good for siphoning out gas in these old tractors, whether it's good or bad. You know, I don't like to let a whole lot of this bad gas onto the ground. Not good for the earth or anything like that. So we'll keep it in this bucket here, and you can see it's coming out in pretty good stream, and it's pretty yellow. You know, almost as yellow as if you haven't drank any water during a day. So we'll go ahead and get all this gas out, and then from there we'll meet you guys at the sediment bowl, and I'll show you guys how to get it off. I've already done an episode on rebuilding one, but I never did a full episode on the whole 9 yards of taking it on, taking it off, you know. All right, everyone, so it's looking like we're just about getting to the nitty-gritty here. Yep, we're just about empty. So got about 3-4 gallons out of this thing, so we'll go ahead and put our little siphon away and get to the sediment bowl. All right, everyone, so here's the problem child. This is the, I would say, #1 leading cause of carburetor failure and gas getting into your engine oil failure on these 2-cylinder tractors. On the older ones, like the John Deere A's and B's, if you were to leave the gas on, that would have technically have been your fault. But on this one, you're actually not able to, per se, turn the gas off. You're relying on this sediment bowl to use 2 diaphragms to shut the gas off for the tractor, and these typically fail stuck on. Ours actually failed stuck shut, so ours won't let gas through. So I guess we're gonna go ahead and get started taking it off. And what I need to do first is I need to see how much more gas is in this thing, because there's probably going to be a little bit that runs out. So let's try it. We're going to go ahead and take this little little screw here. It's already loose, so it should come off. But I think I got most of the gas. I mean, I'm gonna have obviously a little bit here. So what I'm gonna get is my bucket and some cardboard. I'm gonna try to keep as much of this bad gas from getting onto this tractor as possible. 'Cause I hate the smell. It is one of the dirtiest and stinkiest and whatever you want to call it smells in this tractor industry. So we're gonna let her come out just like that, I think, and let her go into the bucket. I don't know how much is here, so I'm gonna probably shut the camera off and let this drain out, and we'll catch you guys when it's empty. All right, everyone, so you're just gonna have to mind the air compressor being on right now. We're getting a tractor painted today, so first step we're gonna do now that we got the gas out is take our engine oil pressure lines off. Now, I may get a comment down below saying, did I check that I actually had engine oil pressure before doing this? And I did. The gauge works. I got excellent oil pressure. So not having oil pressure is not the problem. So we're gonna go ahead and get these two. I believe one's an inlet and one's a return, if I remember right. Just got to have a 3/8 wrench to get these off, I guess. Sometimes looks like someone's been here before, because the nut's kind of rounded. Yeah, and you can tell that there's been oil here. So we'll go ahead and get the other one off now. Whoop! Want to knock the camera on the ground. A little bit of grease in here, no big deal. We're gonna be cleaning all this stuff up, so. But it always seems like when you got something loose with a wrench, you can always never get this stupid thing off. I don't know what it is about it. All right, there we go. Now she's coming off. Oh, almost. My fingers are fighting. There. All right. When we put this back together, I'll do a little bit more explaining, but I screwed up on the last tractor. I put thread tape on those, and it actually has a ferrule on it, so it doesn't need thread tape. So that's my bad on the last video. All right, now, being that this sediment bowl is, I don't know how you would explain, oblong, where it like comes down and goes this way, you're not able to quite turn the whole sediment bowl with the glass on it. So we're gonna have to take this glass off. I gotta get a pair of pliers. So we're gonna be nice and gentle here and loosen this if it wants to. Yep, there we go. Sometimes you'll get unlucky here, and I've had this happen many times, where this little nut on the bottom will snap off, and then or you have that, or you just get absolutely caked in gas. That sucks, but well, I guess the sediment bowl is off, and you guys saw it get off in real time. But yeah, what I was saying before is this nut here will snap off on the threads, and then you have to get a whole new bracket for it. So what I'm gonna do now is actually pop this bracket off. And it should. Yep. Come off on each end. All right, I think we're set to spin this sediment bowl out. I'm gonna clean the floor up first though after that little bit of a spill. All right, everyone, so I just want to make note that this sediment bowl was actually loose. So that's no good, that would have leaked. But also want to make note of the position it's in. I would say that the fitting that feeds the fuel is pointing straight, perpendicular, or parallel. I'd say parallel with the length of the tractor, but perpendicular with this water jacket inlet. So I don't even need a wrench. Let's hopefully, oh, that's right, we got that one. So I don't think we're gonna have to take it off, but if we do, I think that's our choke. No, that's our throttle linkage on the other side. It looks like it just hits, but it bends enough to where it's, you know, not a problem. Actually, it is a problem. We got to take that off. All right, so right now I'm fighting with this stupid cotter pin, and I just got it to the point where I thought I was going to snap it off, but it looks like it's actually maybe wanting to cooperate. Normally these things never cooperate. Yeah, it's cooperating. There we go. So we're just gonna get this throttle out of the way for now. Just pull up on it. You don't need to take that top cotter pin out, but you just gotta be a little bit gentle here because that's spring loaded. So let's go ahead and just put our pin back in here. Just like that. That way we know we got to put that back in. Now we're able to move this around so we can get that sediment bowl off easier. All right. Back to the sediment bowl. So now that we can move that throttle cable, throttle shaft, we should be able to spin this off a lot easier. Now I hope that there's not much gas left. Okay, good. So here it is, guys. Here's the sediment bowl. Well, I guess the upper portion. So let's go ahead and set this on a bench and let's dig right into it. All right, everyone. So I guess if you're a little unfamiliar on how this sediment bowl, the auto style, works, now that we got this thing apart, manually I'm going to show you. So this little nut up here, when you're trying to manually use it, you press down and it's supposed to let gas in through that little plunger. It's not clearing up, but you guys can kind of see that little plunger here opening up and down. So that's how you do it manually. Now when the tractor is turning over, oil pressure is feeding in this one line here and returning out of this one line here. Oil pressure then pushes on, which we'll get to, two diaphragms in here, and those diaphragms act on this little valve, and that valve will push down. So when I get this tractor turning over, and we'll actually show you it working, but we need to go ahead now and get this thing apart and see what's wrong with it. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, everyone, so I guess what we're gonna do is start by remembering the orientation of this the fitting that feeds. What I like to do is take pictures, so I'm just gonna snap a quick picture of this, kind of remember the orientation of how it goes. Once we got that done, we can go ahead and take this off, because I want to make sure everything is nice and clean, and you know, so nothing bad can happen. I'm looking in there, looks like you guys can't see it, but kind of got some junk in there. All right, either way, now we're gonna have to take these 6 screws out of here. Give you guys a little more light so you guys can see. But we'll go ahead and pop all 6 of these out. Now, I know there's a lot of people, and I guess there's like I don't know, I guess preconceived idea that these sediment bowls are just junk. I've rebuilt many of these things, and if you keep good gas and if you keep care of these sediment bowls, you know, if you're watching, if you're in the winter and you're winterizing your stuff, you know, these things are nice, and they, you know, like I said, if you keep good care of them, they don't break. It seems like a lot of times when people say that they break, they probably left gas in them for over 10 years, or maybe they weren't installed correctly, or maybe they weren't cleaned correctly. So I'm just trying to give you guys a nice, good idea that, you know, these automatic fuel primers, they work great. And I'm all about being original on tractors unless, you know, there's a better option. But putting a sediment bowl on this tractor, I think a normal one would look a little weird. It would take away from the fact that you'd have 2 lines that'd be capped. But either way, we got all the screws out. Let's take this top off. So all this is just a little square-headed nut that pushes down on the diaphragm. So here's the first diaphragm. There's the valve. We'll pull this off. And I don't see anything currently wrong with this top diaphragm. No holes or anything like that, but that does not mean anything. You got a little bit of a check valve here. That's pretty crusty. And then the bottom piece comes off. And another thing that I'm gonna do is just for good measure, I'm gonna take another picture of how this is orientated. So we'll go ahead and take this one off, and I'm seeing a lot of junk that's in here, and I think the main cause is going to be underneath this. So I'm not seeing any holes here. We got just almost like an oven burner cover. And then we got our actual valve here. And if you really look down in there, it's packed with rust. So we're gonna need to get this little Jesus clip out of here. And I say Jesus clip because you hope to God that this thing doesn't fly away on you. And sometimes I get lucky and sometimes I don't with these. We gotta get a pick. So you guys can see it in there, but we're gonna hopefully. All right, we got it off. So there's what it looks like. A little bit better picture right there. And then we almost got like an actual spring and a valve seat. Not a seat, but I guess a rotator. Like this almost looks like something that's in an engine. But yeah, there's our problem down there. Full of just tarnish, rust, you name it. So what we're gonna end up doing now is sliding our complete valve out with its seal, just like that. All right, so I guess our last step here is to get this filter off, get this old cork gasket out of here. You can tell that it's been in here quite a while. It's not wanting to come off as one. it's gonna probably end up coming off as in pieces, so that kind of sucks. Yeah, it's gonna come off in pieces. So I think what I'm gonna do, guys, is get this cork gasket out of here, and I'm gonna clean up all of our parts, and we're gonna get ready for reassembly. So we'll go ahead and get this taken out of here. There's not much more to show you though. It's pretty straightforward. We're gonna clean all this shit, all this stuff up. So let's go ahead and get that done. All right, everyone. So we're all clean. Everything's been sandblasted. So we're gonna go ahead and put this thing together. I got the entire gasket kit here. What we're gonna start with here is the bottom. If you remember, the last thing we really did was we took this plunger out. Here's the part number for the seal for the plunger. If you just want that, you can just get that. We're gonna slide that down onto the plunger just like that, and this is your main seal for preventing gas leakage. So we're gonna go ahead and slide that in, and then this is gonna be the tricky part just because it always is. We're gonna go ahead and grab that spring wherever I just put it right here, and with one finger I'm gonna hold the plunger, and we're gonna try and get this thing, this Jesus clip back installed. Let's see here. Probably not going to be able to show it on the camera, but oh, okay, I think I maybe got it started, so hold on. Ah, dang it. Almost lost it. Almost. These things are a pain in the ass to get back on. There we go. She's back on. Took a little bit of finesse, but kind of see, we're gonna operate it a few times. That's how it should work. So now that that's done, we have our little, I didn't clean this, I forgot to clean this. So I just cleaned this little piece up here. Remember I said this was like for like a electric stove or a gas stove. We're gonna set that on top of our plunger, just like this. All this is a plate that acts on the plunger. So we're gonna set that there. Don't need this anymore. We are gonna take our first diaphragm. You need to be extra careful with these. These are thin rubber pieces. And we're gonna set that there. Just like that. Okay. This is kind of a balancing act, but we'll get it. Next step is this piece here. You flip it upside down, and you may not notice a difference, but there is. There's like a dished in end on this side. You want that to face up. And if you remember, I took a picture on my phone of the orientation. Now I remember in the top of my head. And then just for keeping this thing in place for right now, I am going to start a screw. Maybe two of them too, actually. This just will keep it into place for now, so I can show you guys what I'm doing. It's hard to see, but you can kind of see the dished end here. That's what you want facing up. So now that we got those two screws in, we got our little check valve that is going to go in here. And then once we get this check valve in, we're going to go ahead and set our second diaphragm on. I got a I'm gonna emery cloth this off, kind of clean it up. This is just a small little piece of lead, I think. It's hollow, so you got to be very careful with this. All right, so we're gonna set our little check valve that I was just talking about into this hole here, and this is what actually will act upon the diaphragm. Let's say you're using the manual, this will act on the diaphragm to open up the little valve down at the bottom and let gas into the tractor. So now we need to keep this lined up, and this is always the hardest part right here. We're gonna take another diaphragm, there's the part number again. We're gonna carefully slide it out of the bag, and it looks like I'm gonna have to, sometimes they come without the holes punched out, so I gotta be very careful here. This one here is serrated, but okay, there we go. We should be okay. All right, we're gonna go ahead and set the diaphragm on here. Make sure that your check valve or check ball, I don't know what you want to call it, is still in there. And then finally, we're going to easily set this on and hope that we're still lined up. And yep, we are. So we're gonna go ahead and start 2 bolts, get the diaphragms lined up and in, just like that. We'll start the rest of these screws. I don't know why I call them bolts, because these are just little machine screws. So we'll keep going like that. And you guys may ask what I did. How did I clean this? I just used a sandblaster, got most of this junk off, and then I wire wheeled all the mating surfaces, just because when you do sandblast, it leaves a little bit of a porous surface, so the wire wheel cleans that up. But this gives it a nice finish. This tractor is going to get painted, so I am not going to end up painting this right now. This will get painted green when it's on the tractor. We'll go ahead and snug down all these bolts, nuts, machine screws, sorry. I don't know why I keep doing that. Get all these snug down. All right, here's the last one, and then we'll kind of run them around again. Just double check. Okay, we're just gonna go around the world one more time and just make sure that everything is in place. We don't want any leaks. If we have a diaphragm leak, that will not make this work correctly, and if we got a gas leak, I'm just going to be pissed off, because then I got to get rubber gloves on and everything again. All right, so we're on together. Both diaphragms are installed, and you can see that the valve is still operating as it should and shutting as it should. So I'd say that the internals of this thing are set correctly. What we're gonna end up doing now is we're gonna put our fittings back on, you know, our little brass fitting and then our inlet fitting, and we're gonna thread tape our other fittings on. And right here, that's just that plug. I gotta clean that up. But yeah, we'll get this thing prepped and ready here in a second to go back on the tractor. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start with our drain. And thread tape, I always seem to get wrong the first time and never get it right the first time. So I'm spinning in, so we need to go opposite it in so the thread tape doesn't come off. And oh wow, I might have gotten it the first time. I did. So we're gonna thread tape this little drain on. This is just I don't know. If you don't put thread tape on these, they will leak, so it's just a good thing to do, I guess. We'll tighten that up nice and tight. And then we're gonna look back at my phone for the orientation of the brass. And here it is, just like we took. So we want it to look kind of like this. So we're gonna thread tape this end too and install our oil pressure fitting. I gotta make sure I get this one right too. Wow, double time. We might have gotten this one right the first time as well. So let's go ahead and thread this baby in there. We'll use our crescent wrench here. All right, final fitting here is the fuel outlet. This is what the carburetor hooks up to. We're gonna put thread tape on this as well for good measure. I do not want this to leak and then a week from now see 10 gallons of fuel on the floor. Regardless, if my sediment bowl is fixed and working correctly, I shouldn't be seeing any fuel out of that line when this thing is not either running or turning over. So this is the final fitting, just like that. So I'm gonna leave the manual fuel thing on all the way extended, and then once we get this tractor running and it's primed, I'm gonna turn this nut back down to keep it tight. I think we're ready to go back onto the tractor though, so we'll thread tape this up and we'll go back and install it. All right, what's nice now is there's not any bad gas or any gas in the way. Everything's been taken apart, so this should go right in nice and easy. I got some thread tape installed. Let's go ahead and get this thing started. I don't know why it's not wanting to get the stupid throttle is in the way. It's not wanting to start. Now it is. Oh yeah. Looks like we'll be able to make it around one more time and that's it. All right, we'll take the wrench now. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and hopefully get this thing the right setting. Crescent wrench. I know I probably should be using a normal wrench, but I don't know. If you remember, we said that this fitting here was parallel or perpendicular with the water jacket. Parallel with the length of the tractor, perpendicular with the water jacket. So I think we're good there. We're nice and tight. Now what we need to do is I'm gonna take a rag and clean up a little bit of dirt that kind of got on these fittings here, just so we don't get anything in the freshly cleaned and redone sediment bowl. So we're gonna go ahead and start with this fitting here, and we're gonna spin that in, take our little 3/8 wrench here, and we're gonna tighten this up nice and snug. Be careful with these. These are small brass fittings, and brass is a very moldable metal. I'm sure a lot of you guys know that a lot of these brass nuts tend to strip out pretty easily if you're not careful, and this little T-fitting could crack at any given moment. We don't want that. I don't want to run to Farm and Fleet, not if I don't have to. So there's the first one, and then we'll go ahead and put our second one on. Just like that. All right, oil pressure lines are on. Now we're gonna go ahead and hook our throttle and our fuel back up. Now I think the fuel line I gotta finagle back to where it was. I gotta loosen. There we go. Let's go ahead and get our fuel line on. Tighten her up. Perfect. Tighten up back at the carburetor. Now remember, I'm going to hook the throttle back up. That's back this way. When you go and do that again, just remember about that spring-loaded piece, so be careful. Throttle is back on. Go ahead and we're going to reuse this cotter pin. It's not broke or anything like that. And this may end up leading into another episode depending on what happens after we attempt to start it. I may end up pulling the carburetor off this thing, but I'm not 100% sure yet. All right, sediment bowl's hooked up. We're gonna go ahead now, and I gotta clean up the glass bowl and the collar, and then yeah, we're gonna install the bowl and then put some gas in it. Alright everyone, so I cleaned the sediment bowl as best as I could. Unfortunately, it's got a yellow hint to it, and I can't see. I took ether, brake clean, it doesn't come out. It's good enough for what we're doing, so it's not like it's got any junk or debris or dirt or anything in there. So I got the glass and I got a new gasket. I actually am surprised when that thing fell, it didn't break. I got lucky on that part. There we go. All right, there's our new, not our new, but our bracket. And then we're gonna screw this all the way down. And hopefully, yep. Almost forgot. Gotta have our cork gasket in there. Otherwise it'll be leaking. I prefer this cork over black rubber or whatever the other material is any day of the week. This stuff seems to hold up a lot better. All right. We'll go ahead now and tighten this down. What I may have to do is, I'm gonna leave this a little loose. I may have to crack it to purge the air out of it, but I think we're ready for some gas. I gotta run to the gas station now because I don't have any here, so that kind of sucks. So I'll be right back. All right, so we just got back getting gas, and we're gonna go ahead and test and see if we're actually getting any in here. Oh yeah, look at that. Getting gas into the sediment bowl, so I'm not gonna fill it up all the way because if you guys remember, I didn't completely tighten that. So I'm gonna tighten that up completely so we don't get any leaks out of that gasket. And then I think we're gonna be ready to start this thing up and see how she runs again. So I'll finish tightening that, finish priming it, and then let's give it a shot. All right, everyone, it seems like we're primed, completely filled to carburetor. No leaks. So let's get up on this thing and I hope the battery I got in it's good, but we're out of gear. Hold you guys in between my knees. Alright, so let's go ahead and try this again. Just shut it off after starting it, so it should start right back up. Yep. One more time, just for good measure. I think I'm gonna put a little bit more gas in this thing. I think we need to take it for a spin. I want to check and make sure that the carburetor isn't gummed up or causing us issues, but I think the issues that we were having last time with this tractor were probably just because of that whole sediment bowl issue. Now that that's fixed, it's running. I mean, you guys hear it, it starts right up, so I think we got to take her for a spin now. Let me get my coat, gloves, a little bit more gas in this thing, and yeah, let's get her fired back up and we'll go up and see what my grandpa thinks. All right, everyone, so we're getting ready to take this out, and you guys are going to notice we got some snow on the ground. Kind of sucks, but I guess it is what it is. All right, fire her back up again. That's what I was afraid of would happen. So it seems like we got some sort of a problem with carburetor. It doesn't want to stay running. Let's try it again. So it seems like we're going to be in need of a carb rebuild. Doesn't seem like it's... We got gas to the carburetor now. Just doesn't seem like something's right with the inlet of it. I don't know if something's dirty on the inside where it's getting gas in. Gosh, I don't know. I'm gonna grab a crescent wrench real quick and just take a quick peek. All right, so it seems like I'm getting plenty of gas to the carb. I pulled this plug out and I turned the sediment bowl thing on. Getting gas through. My only problem is this is before the float. So I'm not sure, is maybe the float sticking? I don't know. But either way, the thing starts right up pretty nicely. That's kind of what I'm looking for with the sediment bowl fix. Now with it staying running, that's going to be a whole nother video. I think I'm going to end up taking the carburetor off of it. But before I do that, it looks like I'm going to be steam cleaning this thing because that carburetor is greasy. But yeah, I think we're going to call it an episode. We got pretty far on it today. Got the fuel delivery system figured out. I think the next episode we're going to finish up with the carburetor. Hopefully have this thing running good. I got a new set of tires. Well, not new, but different set of tires for it. These are pretty crappy. But yeah, I think we'll call it an episode here. We'll make another one next week or, you know, sometime soon, depending on how busy I get. But yeah, if you guys like this video, please consider subscribing to 3 Generations Restoration. We'll catch you guys on the next video.